Welcome to this video in which we're going to look at multiplying and dividing integers. The good thing about multiplying and dividing integers is the rules are actually a little bit easier than adding and subtracting. So in general, if I have the same signs, my answer will be positive. If I have different signs, my answer will be negative. So what this means is that if I have 3 times 2, okay, both these numbers or integers are positive, my answer will be 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Since it's a positive times a positive, my answer will be positive. Okay, and remember that most times we do not write the positive sign. It's not bad for a little extra emphasis or just a reminder. Okay, but the answer is actually going to be positive 6. If I had negative 3 times negative 2, 3 times 2 would give me 6, but because I have a negative times a negative, my answer will actually be a positive as well. So it'll give me the same value for an answer. So basically I multiply the numbers just like normal, and then I just look at the signs for the two numbers. If it is the same sign, it's going to be a positive value. Okay, and then let's take a look at what happens if there's a different signs. Let's say I had negative 3 times 2. So for emphasis, negative 3 times a positive 2. 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. But because I have a negative and one positive, negative times a positive gives me an answer of a negative. Then similarly, if I have 3 times negative 2, 3 times 2 is going to give me 6 once again, but because I've got a positive times a negative, my answer will also be negative. So this is basically the short and simple rule for multiplying and dividing integers. If I have the same signs, the answer is going to be positive. If I have different signs, the answer is going to be negative. Let's expand this idea a little bit though. Let's say you have 3 numbers. Let's say I give you 4 times negative 1 times negative 3. How do I go about doing this? Well, I would treat it the same way. 4 times negative 1 gives me an answer of negative 4. And then I'm going to multiply that by negative 3. So because this is positive, this is negative, this answer is going to be negative for the negative 4. Then I need to remember to multiply by the negative 3 as well. Well, 4 times 3 is going to give me 12. But because I've got a negative times a negative, my answer will actually be positive 12. So I circle that for my answer. And I could predict this, because in general, if I'm multiplying more than one number, if I have an odd number of negatives, so 1, 3, 5, in the string of numbers I'm multiplying, my answer will be negative. Okay, because it falls underneath the rule of different signs. Okay, if I have an even number of negatives, that's an odd number of negatives, my answer will actually be positive if it's an even number. So in this case, since I have 1 negative sign and 2 negative signs, my answer will be positive. Okay, so let's say I had 5 times negative 3 times negative 2 times negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, for example. Okay, I can predict if my answer is going to be positive or negative by going through and circling the negative signs. How many negative signs do I have? Well, I have 5. So my answer will end up being a negative number because it's an odd number of negatives. Well, let's go ahead and test this. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, multiplied by negative 2, multiplied by negative 1, multiplied by negative 1, multiplied by negative 1. Negative 15 times negative 2 is going to give me positive 30 times negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Okay, let me just go ahead and shrink this slightly. So I'm running out of room. Okay. Next step. 30 times negative 1 gives me negative 30. Multiply by negative 1, multiply by negative 1. I do negative 30 times negative 1, I get positive 30, and then multiply by negative 1 to give me my answer of negative 30. So my answer, okay, I predicted that was going to be a negative number. In a sense, I could just go through and say, okay, well, let's do 5 times 3 is 15, times 2 is 30, times 1, 30, times 1, 30, times 1, 30. I could predict that as negative 30 and save myself a lot of rewriting. Okay, so this will come with some practice, but just keeping in mind that whenever I have an odd number of negatives within an expression, the answer is going to be negative. When I have an even number of negatives, the answer is going to be positive. So hope this has been helpful. Look forward to practicing with you tomorrow.